Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of You've Been Screwed. I'm your host, RJ. So today I'd like to talk about a little issue that's going on in my area. It's getting very serious, and something that's actually getting a little serious everywhere. And it's text scams, phishing scams, bank scams, Pike Pass scams, just about everything that they send you by text. And not only how to avoid getting screwed by these, but also how to tell them out and report them. Because if you want to stop these things, you actually need to report and make a difference because they won't go away on their own. Um, and that's kind of the deal I want to talk about. So, before we get into all that stuff, I want to talk about the thing that actually started all this, and that was a bank in my local area. And it's not exactly a big bank chain, it's not like Wells Fargo or, JP Morgan or Chase, but it is a decently sizable brand. They have banks all over the state of Oklahoma. Well, in a town that's next to me, they got screwed because their customers, all of their customers, were sent a text message that said that there's been a fraud alert for your account. You need to verify it, and then of course it would post a link, no questions asked, to verify your information. When customers would click on this link, they would be directed to put in all their contact information and a couple other things. I think it was including their bank account number. And then, of course, all their accounts got drained, which meant that not only did everybody's accounts get drained, but the bank itself also got drained too, which is definitely not really good. So the bank has been trying to figure this stuff out, and the bank themselves weren't even aware that this was a scam, which is a little bit alarming. And they also didn't have any preventative measures in place to try to stop this stuff. And they also, and I think this is the most damning thing of all of them, they couldn't even tell that stuff was a scam. If they weren't told that these text messages were a scam, they would have thought it was legitimate, which is very alarming because if you're a corporation, if you're a company or a business, you need to be able to how to tell out the bullshit because it's going to come around. And obviously, they did not have this preventative measure. So, regardless, customers are now angry about this entire situation, and of course, they want their money back and they want reassurance that this is not going to happen again. And I understand completely because losing all your money in your bank account, anywhere from the $50 you had in there to get something to eat, or the several $100s or $1,000 that you had in there to pay bills is gone. And of course, you know how it is in America. Um, People want their money. So regardless, it's time to talk about how you could avoid these and stuff, because there's a way to not get screwed. And so we're going to talk about, the bank scams for a moment. And that is, of course, that they'll send you a text message from a random number. And a reminder that most of the time when somebody texts you a message, even if they're not in your phone, if they'll usually have a piece of contact information. So, like, if it's a business, for example, like, I don't know, maybe I got a job at McDonald's and during the process of verifying or something because I filled it out online, they sent me a text message. Well, it would say McDonald's pretty much. It depends on what kind of phone you'd have, depends on, the operating system and stuff. But most of the time, bigger businesses will have their text messages and stuff marked as their brand. It won't simply just be a 323 or 405 number or something that you absolutely have no idea what the hell it is. And then, of course, they'll send you, for example, in the case of banks, they'll send you like Wells Fargo or Chase or, JP Morgan or whatever. And then they'll say, oh, there's been a purchase of however much money at Walmart or Target in whatever city on debit card, whatever. Um, and this is bullshit, obviously, because either you didn't make this purchase, or even if you did, why are they sending you a fraud alert? Because that's also what they'll say. If they don't say this, they'll say it's a fraud alert on your account. Most of the time, that's what they'll do, since they won't have the purchase information of what you bought. And they'll simply say there's a fraud alert, there's scams going around, we need to verify your account. If there's fraud alert and scams, you don't need to verify my account because I'm not scamming anybody. Think about the bullshit and how ludicrous it is because it's real. And then, of course, the main thing is that they'll always say, not you, cancel, and then follow the link to cancel. Or, of course, if it is you, verify your stuff. It's one of two things. It's either cancel or verify. It's usually nothing else. It's not sign up. It's not, it's not abort. It's not anything. It is cancel or verify. It always is. And so after you send the specific message back to them, if there is, sometimes they'll just send you the link. It'll direct you to a somewhat scummy looking thing where you put your information in. For example, for Wells Fargo, it's not Wells Fargo's website. It is Wells to Cancel 134.com. And I want to teach you something a little bit about web addresses. And I am not a website designer. I have a website, but I'm not good at designing stuff. I don't know how the entire internet works. I don't honestly want to know everything about that. But I can give you an education on how web addresses work. On the internet, you can only have one web address. Now, I know this sounds incredibly weird, and let me explain. Let's say I had a business, okay, and just for the sake of all of this, and of course, let's just say for the sake of funny, good times, and I think all the movie nerds are instantly going to notice this, Rolling Thunder Moving and Storage. What if I had a website for this business, and I needed to give it a name that was easy, because I can't put the full name in there. That's too much for somebody to try to put in there. So let's just do RTM Storage, okay? Now, since I have that as my new registered web domain, that means there can only be one out there. So nobody else can come along and make another website with that web address, because as long as I have my website up and as long as I have the rights to that domain, nobody else can get that name. So if you're Walmart or McDonald's or Pizza Hut, you can have your name and nobody else can copy it. And of course, you can see that on the picture on screen is that this, Wells to Cancel 134.com is obviously not Wells Fargo's website, because of course if it was Wells Fargo's, it would not have a 134 in the name, and it wouldn't be this ridiculous stuff of Wells to Cancel, and all this gibberish that doesn't make sense. They're just banking on the gullibility of people by making something that looks legitimate, because most people think you'd spam random numbers in something. But since there can only be one of a web address, scammers will often disguise their websites up to make it look more legitimate. So let's talk about, a Walmart scam or a Target scam or something. They will make a mock-up website that is similar but not exact, and they'll use real shitty graphics and stuff that makes it look legitimate to the uncultured eye. But if you know how to point stuff out, it'll look terrible, because they'll be using logos and stuff that are in terrible low resolution, fake web elements, and stuff like that, and it's just obviously a scam. They'll do this to make it look like it's more of a complete website, when all it does is get your information that they need, and then they fuck you, basically. And this is why you always check the links. You always check for what they lead to, because if Wells Fargo actually needed to text you about a $1,000 purchase at a Walmart, they would either A, call you on the phone, or B, if they texted you, they would either tell you, is this you? They wouldn't ask you to cancel by following a link, and they wouldn't ask you to verify by putting your account information on a website. I can simply tell you that because banks will call you about a problem that you have when you have a problem, or when they suspect that there is fraud. Or, here's the other alternative, if they actually suspect that you're committing fraud, they'll simply lock your account and call you and ask you why you spent $1,000 at a Home Depot. And then, of course, once you explain why, and once you explain that it is you and that you legitimately made a $1,000 purchase at the store, they'll unlock your account. They won't send you a text like this. Use this picture as a good template for how these scams are set up, because this is almost how they always are. And if it's not like this, it'll always say fraud alert, verify your account. Always remember that. Now let's talk about something else that I'm sure a lot of people have encountered, because we are a somewhat productive society. Netflix scams, and it's not just Netflix. It's Amazon Prime, it's Disney Plus, it is Hulu, it is HBO, it is just about all of them. So just because this is Netflix, this applies to everything. So use this as a template as well. Dear valued customer, there is no punctuation as a reminder. There's nothing. Your membership has been canceled. Double space, comma. We are having problem to verify your payment method. Please follow the link to update or add a new payment method. And then, of course, this weirdly suspicious link now. Okay, now I first want to talk about the grammar, because an actual company has representatives. It has marketing people that work for it, because they're big. It's going to be people that know how to communicate. This is not somebody that knows how to communicate. This is somebody that doesn't know dog shit. They are sending you a message that has got bad grammar. And it's not really that they spelled words wrong, but it is the fact that, excuse me, it is the fact that they are sending you something that doesn't look legit, because it isn't legit, because they are getting grammar wrong. It's not dear valued customer, your membership has been canceled. It is dear valued customer, and then go space down, your membership has been canceled because we are full of shit. Now, let's talk about the link, because that is the obvious thing that I have a teaching point on. Look at this. https colon 2 bars s.id bar confirm it 1. Netflix is never going to send you a message like this. If they have an actual problem with your account for some reason, maybe they suspect you of committing fraud because you tried to get 4 people to log into your account so that 4 family members can watch Netflix all across the house or something, well, they would email you. That, or they would send a notification directly to your account if they have something like that set up. They wouldn't send you a link that is s.id confirm it 1. This does not make any sense. Not only does the S have no relevance to Netflix at all, not only does the keyword ID have any relevance to Netflix at all, but it's also the fact that confirm it isn't even a logical thing to say. That's like a kid trying to, make up something. That's not a word. Big companies aren't going to make websites and stuff unless it's a part of their slogan, but this isn't a company that's called Confirm It. This is a company that's called Netflix. They're not going to do this. This is another thing. Look at the links before you ever respond to this stuff, because sometimes there is text message stuff about accounts and stuff that is legitimate. Check the links. Always check the links. That's what I have to hammer home into people a lot, and I'm going to start doing it on this channel all the time. Always check the links of text messages you receive. Links like this aren't legitimate. Once you click on them, and you're not going to get screwed the second you click on it, you get fucked the second you enter your information and click send, which is why you don't. Next thing, and that, of course, is the other variation of this, is we will suspend your Netflix account today, or whatever account, because you failed to pay, and then, of course, they'll send you a link that says, like, ERR payment -2591934, all this other bullshit. Once again, this has no relevance to Netflix as a brand. This doesn't have relevance to Disney. This doesn't have relevance to Hulu or whatever. It doesn't have relevance to anybody. It doesn't have their name in it. Companies like this are big enough they can pay people to design web pages for their own site. They don't have to use external services. Now, if I had a business, I may have to use an external service for some things, because I'm not an HTML programmer. I'm not somebody that writes code to build an entire website from scratch. I am not somebody that hosts my own stuff. I don't have a data center sitting in, where my computer is or my bedroom. And so it's not like I can host every single thing. I may have to use a file hosting service for certain things, or I may have to use certain hosting services. It makes sense when you're smaller. It doesn't make sense when you're a bigger business, because you have the money. You can pay people to design stuff. Companies like this have design teams. They don't need this kind of stuff. Now, let's talk about probably the one that is fooling a lot of people. Pike Pass scams. And it's not just Pike Pass, it is all of the tolls, All the toll, brands and stuff, the scams and stuff, it's big. And this is something I personally encountered, and I really wanted to talk about this because this is big time. So, the specific message here is from Florida, but I think you can put the pieces together what it would look like in any state that you live in. Please pay your toll in Florida by January 21st, 2025. And this is exactly what I got, except guess when mine was sent? January 22nd, 2025. Yeah, makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? In order to avoid excessive late fees and potential legal actions on statements, not action statements, it's on statements. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Please pay the tolls in time. What tolls? Thank you for your cooperation, and we wish you a pleasant holiday. What holiday? There is no holiday. https://sunpass.com 8lf5.sbs, and then of course they try to make it look legit by putting US on there. But they got that wrong because you don't do it like this. In the United States, you use .com for a website, you use .org for an organization, and so on. In other countries, you use a different bit of a naming scheme. It may be similar, but you have a country code on it. For example, if it's in Brazil, you'll have .br after the com. If you live in Russia, it's .ru, and I think you can put the pieces together. The United States, you don't ever have this unless if the website is from a company that is in a foreign country and they have a version of their website in the United States because they work in the United States market. I don't know, let's just bring up how about Nissan? They make cars in Japan. They make very reliable cars, and they also sell to the United States market, and they have been for a while now. Well, and I have no idea if this is how their website would work, but for an example, since they sell their cars to the U.S., they might have a U.S. branch of their company and their website that would be www.nissan.com.us. That makes perfect sense. This does not make perfect sense because not only is there no .com, there's no .us. This makes no sense. Now, you could probably say that this is the word us, but that also makes no sense. Please reply why, then exit the text message and open it again to activate the link. That's not how it works. Or copy the link to your Safari browser and open it. And that's also not how it works. You simply click on it. Or if you're using a phone, like what I'm sure almost everybody does, then you press the link. That's still technically clicking it, though. You don't exit the text message to activate the link. That's not how it works. And you don't press Y because that's not going to do anything. It's just a one-way text. But they'll send you stuff like this. Sometimes they may send you a picture of your vehicle because they are going to think that you'll fall for it. But the thing is, of course, if you know your vehicle inside out, you'll obviously know, hey, that's not me driving. That's not what it looks like. Or, oh, I don't have this license plate or whatever. I got something similar a while back. And that's the reason why I wanted to talk about toll scams is because I own a 2004 Ford F-150. And I'm sure most people who watch this channel don't know that. If you're in my Discord server, or if you know me as a person, which is what, quite a few people actually know me as, you'll know that I drive, I have a vehicle, and, of course, I go all over the place. But here's the thing. Ever since I got my truck in July of 2024, here's a fun fact. It has never been through a toll. I've never driven it on a tollway. If I go anywhere, I take highways. I don't take the freeway. I take the highway, okay? I know where my truck is gone because I'm the only one that drives it. So, I received a text message on January 22nd, 2025 to my phone that talks about this toll scam. And they had the audacity to even say what my vehicle was. 2004 Ford F-150. And of course, since I'm the owner of the damn vehicle, and since I know its past history, which was it was owned by somebody where it sat for several years, I obviously know that this did not happen. I obviously know I never ran a toll. I didn't go through the Pike Pass section without a Pike Pass. So I knew it was fake. However, if you do these commutes all the time, I don't know, maybe you have a long drive to work, or I don't know, maybe you're a pool guy, or maybe you are a plumber or electrician, or I don't know, whatever, and you have to drive all over the state or wherever to do your business. You may think something like this is legitimate because, hey, you drive on this road, you pay these tolls. But a reminder that links like this are not going to happen. You're not going to see shit like this. If this said sunpass.com, it'd make a little bit more sense. It'd be a little bit more believable if it didn't have the gibberish on the end. A reminder that random gibberish like this is fake. A reminder that anything that has nonsense like this or starts with .bit.ly or bit.gyy or something is fake. If a company has a problem and they send you a message, it'll either be through mail, through email, and if they do it by text, it will lead you to a legitimate deal. Always check the links before you fall for shit or before you respond or even delete it. Because if you want to make a difference, you have to do something. These scams are not going to go away on their own. They're not. The scammers aren't going to get bored and decide, oh well, nobody's going to fall for this. Scams are still going to be around. And if you want to do something about it, you're going to have to pick them out, find them, and report them. Get rid of them. Report it to your local authorities. Actually make awareness that this stuff's going around. Or you can do what I do as well, and that is go on YouTube and rant and complain about this to a bunch of people that probably aren't interested. You have the ability to make a difference, and you should. That's all for today. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in another video. Bye now.